Back in the couch, go grab Grandma. Get the dark spots, sit 'em right down. You're looking for something you ain't never seen before. You're looking for a home with a Loch Ness monster, Roddy Piper. You're looking, say, grab the children, grab the rhythm, tell the policemen, turn in their baggage, cause I'm coming to your living room, so bar the doors or I don't get in for that. I'm Roddy Piper.
Exciting wrestling action, Sunday nights at 11:30.
Why are women so happy about new Tickle antiperspirant? Is it because Tickle is the first roll-on with a big, wide ball? Is it because Tickle comes in 4 fresh fragrances? Or is it because Tickle helps keep you dry all day? Make yourself happy. Staying drier is nicer with a little Tickle. Why are women so happy about new Tickle antiperspirant? Is it because Tickle is the first roll-on with a big, wide ball?
I like to keep myself sparkling clean and fresh. Now, if you want all-day freshness, there's this concentrated cleaner called Blue. Just pop Blue in the tank, then every time I flush, I get a Blue detergent rinse that helps clean and deodorize me for up to a month. The tablet dissolves, so there's no dripping mess to remove, and my fingers don't get stained. I tell you, Blue makes me feel brand new. Try concentrated Blue. It's the simplest bowl cleaner yet.
Every time folks eat super fruity bonkers fruit candy, it makes a big hit. Know why bonkers is so super fruity? It's got a chewy fruity outside with an extra fruity inside. Makes me want to eat it up.
Bonkers. Bonks you out.
Thumb candy.
Think of the biggest sports fans on your Christmas list, and I'll show you the biggest present you can give them. Here it is, a whole year of sports. Week after week of the top magazine in sports, Sports Illustrated. Starting with our special year-end issue and followed by the bowl games. Super Bowl 15, the year in sports, plus baseball, basketball, hockey, tennis, golf. 52 great issues of Sports Illustrated at our special holiday rate of just $27.95. That's $8 off our regular subscription price. And your shopping couldn't be easier. Just dial toll-free 800-621-8200 with the addresses of the people on your list. A gift card will be on its way, and we won't bill you until next year. Sports Illustrated is 64% off the cover price, and the phone call is free. So call 800-621-8200, and they'll cheer you once a week for the rest of the year.
Now, it's here. The excitement, the adventure of a new force at breakfast.
We'll call them C-3POs.
New C-3PO cereal from Kellogg's. Twin rings phased together. For 2 crunches in every 00. A delicious part of this nutritious breakfast. Now you can experience the taste of Kellogg's C-3POs. A crunchy new force at breakfast.
May the force be with you.
What's this crazy Sigma jiggle? It's a squiggly water wiggle. What you do when you're a giggle?
Water wiggle.
Crazy water wiggle. You can't tell what he'll do. You think you're chasing him, then boom, he's chasing you. What you do when you're a giggle?
Water wiggle.
There's sweat in every wriggle. Water wiggle.
Water wiggle water toy. Your parents attach it to any garden hose.
I gotta feel the taste. Gotta make it right. Just one thing will do. Gotta get pumped, yeah, gotta get pumped.
The pop sensation of Kellogg's Corn Pop cereal, part of this nutritious breakfast.
I gotta get pumped, yeah, gotta get pumped.
Coming at you free, your own wacky wall walker. It tumbles and crawls down walls and even glows in the dark. It's wacky and free in Corn Pops.
Watching TV is fun. But reading a good book will complete the picture.
Hey, what are you reading? Oh, nothing.
When a good TV show makes you want to find out more, find it in a book. TV and books work together to really take you places.
To find out how, write Kids Nest.
What up, wokestronauts, or wokestronauts? I don't know how to. I was toying with that word earlier. Anyway, it's not working. So, hey everybody, what's happening? Saturday night. You know, it's I prostate here, and in the studio with me tonight are the one and only Timothon.
Hey everybody.
And of course, Accelerate.
What's up, fam? How's everybody doing tonight?
That's right. Crawling up from the swamp and the primordial ooze into becoming a human being, and we're taking steps beyond humanity, and we're going to find that out tonight, I think. Anyway, so what's everybody up to?
Well, I had a lot of fun with AMC this week.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I bought 35 shares when it was $9 a share, and it got up.
Oh shit!
It got up to 67, so I sold it all. And then when it dropped back down to like 48, I bought 35 more shares. And then I took the money, which was my initial investment, and then some, and spent it all on Magic the Gathering cards, because I hate money.
That was like fun use of your, you know, I mean, you know. Like
I'll probably make it fucked on my taxes next year because of making stock trades like that, right? Because I have to report out on all those sales, like my gross profit. I forget what the tax is on it, like 15%. Yeah, my stonks. You know what? I think stonks. I think stonks should be tax exempt.
You think? I want to turn my audio up just a little bit more.
Fucking lobby Congress said once a bunch of Redditors declare something to stonk, that's selling it should be tax free.
Every time I get on Streamlabs, you know, StreamYards, it cuts my mic way back, so I have to fucking readjust it. I apologize. Well,
I'm not. I don't care, dude. I hate a lot of these apps, dude. Everything has. I just had to go into my fucking settings to make sure that my browser could read my wireless headphones. Are you fucking serious? This is dumb. Every app but that one was accepting the headphones, and it's like, wow, that's special. I don't know why they keep trying to break the computers instead of making them work better.
Right.
I keep laughing because somebody put Corn Pop is a bad dude in here when you had the Corn Pops commercial out there.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Mm-hmm.
I go every time I say it, I sound like I think I sound like Bill Cosby.
You sound like Obama.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Apparently that turned into a nice talk amongst our chat about breakfast cereals. I'll talk breakfast cereals for a while.
Go
I
for
actually
it.
have a favorite, dude. It's Golden Grahams.
God damn, me too, dude. Holy shit.
Like, it's always good. Like, I am always down for a bowl of Golden Grahams.
No
Other
shit.
stuff,
Sugar
not so
smacks.
much. It's like
Sugar
just sweet
smacks.
enough, and it makes the milk delicious too. So
Yeah, what I do is I put enough just to make it a mush, and so it's like a milk and Golden Grahams mush. That's like heroin.
yeah, well, I like how the meal changes as it goes, right? Like at first it's like crispy Golden Grahams with milk, and then it's, you know, it slowly turns into a mushier thing with some sort of flavored milk that I swear to God, if they made Golden Grahams flavored milk, I would buy it and just drink it.
Sugar smacks.
I don't even know what those are, but it reeks of
It's
other
got a
cereals that I would
frog on
eat.
the label. It's got a
Okay.
frog on the label, and then back in the day, it was made with real honey instead of sugar syrup. But no, Sugar Smacks. Those are good.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I used to be
You can
into
even
like
eat them
Frosted
dry.
Flakes and whatnot, but
Well,
the
I used
taste
to.
of actual sugar is like, no, I want the honey. I want the, like, I know there's plenty of sugar in Golden Grams. Don't get me wrong.
All right, so do they still make Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
those
can
are
actually
good.
get the
Those are
Crunch
good.
Berries separate. No,
Oh.
Sugar Smacks is puffed wheat dipped in sugar or honey.
Mmm.
Yeah, it's crack in a bag. I don't buy it.
I'll go with
Yeah.
like
No
peanut
shit,
butter
man.
crunch, too.
It's like goddamn.
The thing is like I feel like Captain
Is it
Crunch is
called Honey
almost a
Smacks
dessert.
now?
Is it called what?
Change the name to Honey Smacks.
Oh wow. Because these woke mamas and daddies won't buy that shit.
No, it's actually probably. Oh, you know what? You're probably right.
They gotta
This is
unhunkify it.
sugar in the name.
Right, white sugar, processed white sugar. See,
Yeah, yeah. Now it's just baker's or
Racist as fuck,
baker's
man.
sugar. They call it baker sugar now when you go to buy it in bulk.
Oh, actually, another one I'm actually a fan of still is Rice Krispies, and just the regular Rice Krispies. Where if you want to sweeten it, you just get your regular sugar and you add sugar as wanted for adequate sweetness.
Mm.
But I'm down with.
I
some
like
Rice
doing
Krispies,
that too. I like doing that too. I like eating grape nuts hot though too. So I'm weird.
What about banana in cereal? Like you would always see those commercials where people chopped up bananas and put it in their cereal.
My husband loves doing that. I don't like the mixture of textures, but I will
Yeah,
do some
me
peanut
neither.
butter on a banana. I will do
Yeah.
a peanut butter on banana
Oh my
all
God.
the time.
I grew up with that too. Peanut butter and banana. That was like a
Dude,
treat.
fuck yeah, peanut butter and banana sandwich. Even peanut butter, banana, and mayonnaise sandwich.
Well, so we're not even talking about a sandwich. You just get a spoon and a banana, and you start.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, apples.
the
You
peanut
do that with
butter on
apple
the-
too. Yeah. Fuck
It's
yeah.
actually how I get rid of sugar cravings when I'm doing low carb and stuff like
That's
that.
the best way to do it. Absolutely.
Oh,
Fuck the bread.
It's true, man. Like, because if you get some organic peanut butter, it has almost no carbs in it, and it's really good on a banana.
yep.
It's good stuff. It is. Almost pure protein. Peanuts are a legume too.
Yeah, they are.
Yep.
Sort of. They're also a root
Have
vegetable.
you ever had?
if
All right, so
classify
all
it
right,
differently.
have y'all had boiled peanuts before?
No, and I don't want to. I don't know how I feel about squishy peanuts.
Man, they're actually good. If you're from the South and you like boiled peanuts, put a 1 in the chat.
So I've cooked with crushed peanuts, and I've noticed it changes the texture. So I'm gonna guess it's somewhat similar.
Yeah, well, they're like legumes, man, and you just boil them just like you just boil them in the shell. It takes a long time though. Usually, if they're done right, they'll be very spicy, and have a nice bite to them. But they taste great.
I'm gonna have to discover those when I get back.
Yeah, man, I highly recommend them.
Because Texas has its own foods and its own world, so I didn't quite get all of the southern. And then my stepdad has no taste buds, and his mom was an alcoholic, so I didn't get much in the way of actual southern food.
Right.
So
Well, man,
okay,
there's a
y'all are gonna have
smorgasbord
to
of
teach
awesome.
me how to make these. You guys are gonna have to teach me how to make whole peanuts.
The best
So
ones
you
I
guys
had
have
was
any
in South
recipes?
Carolina. I don't doubt that.
Nails.
And it was probably on a highway where some dude in a pickup truck just out there selling it, because that's what he does in his spare time. It's just trying to perfect his boiled peanut recipe.
Okay, so what I want y'all to do is I'm gonna put my Twitter handle in the chat, and y'all are gonna spam me with as many boiled peanuts recipes as you want.
Sweet.
All right. Well, we worked ourselves up an appetite. I think this is going to be probably the least cringy conversation we have all night.
Yeah, and I need to let
Food
the,
all day.
I need to let the chat know we've changed the title of tonight's show to "We Are All Queer Now." Okay?
Yep, all of us.
We are all queer. You're queer, I'm queer, we're all queer. It's a queer fest, and we're gonna we're gonna learn more about it.
The
Right?
ultimate end game of queer theory. Everybody's queer.
Game of queers.
I don't even understand.
Trial by combat.
Okay.
Yes.
don't
Bend
get
the knee. Bend the knee to King Woke. Acknowledge your queerness and move on. Hello?
Acknowledge my queerness. I don't have to. If y'all see me walk down the street, I'm the craziest, weirdest looking motherfucker you're going to see. They don't got no. Anyway.
All right, so in Cream Stream cheat sheet, I put in like a little blurb that came with the video about the person that we're going to watch be lecturing. This dude is a German national named Yannik Thiem. He's a professor at Villanova University. As a matter of fact, while we're saying that, I want to move us over to the other room.
Gender and sexual identities and their embodiment in the global north seem to and do become ever more fluid and capacious. More people of color populate our popular visual discourses. However, the expansion is complicated. By suggesting how we might read the aesthetics of this queer fluidity with the help of tools from religious studies, especially ritual studies, this lecture will seek to show how the images and gestures of queerness, including its allure of transgressiveness, also shore up whiteness as the invisible core of everyday life. Oh boy, this should be so fun. Did you all know I'm a 25 plus year practicing pagan who has more study into rituals and historical context and the cultures that he's going to... Oh, this should be fun.
All right, so this guy is a professor at Villanova University in the theology department. Okay,
that's why this should be fun,
right? And his he's got a PhD in rhetoric, so you know, and theology. Okay, he's got a degree in that too. So, and this is a cis male. I'm not sure as to whether he's straight or gay. I'm blowing the damn speakers off. Sorry, y'all. I owe you for an eardrum, whoever that was.
I'm going to make a few predictions here. Is that we're going to hear nothing but intellectual sophistry, right? Arguing towards a conclusion. And my second prediction is he's going to basically admit to what we've been saying about this and, you know, everything about critical theory, where it's less of an academic study more than it is some sort of secular faith in certain propositions. So those are my predictions. We'll see what happens.
Well, religious rhetoric with this is going to work interestingly, and I'm wondering how much he's going to bastardize pagan language.
All right, so we've often talked about how the woke culture and all that stuff, it reads like a cult, right? You know, there's cult behavior, especially like the way that they treat outsiders and stuff. You know, there's a whole checklist we could go through. If I can find that too, we can look at that if we run out with this one. But, you know, all right, so Carla Borshenko did do this specific one a couple weeks ago.
He can kiss my butt.
Oh, whatever.
I don't care. I'm just like, wow, you got some thin ass skin for talking so much shit, girl.
Well,
sorry. Oh, by the way, I got blocked by Carlin Boroshenko for saying I will give no quarter to furries in bondage dancing around children.
Yeah.
Honestly, well, so I got a couple things. If we want to talk about that real quick, she is starting to just pick fights for the wrong reason. Like, I don't think she understands that just because you're picking this fight doesn't mean that people on your side that agree with you are going to fight the fight. I mean, there's different... I learned this a while ago. Like, there's different levels of, you know, people that are on your side, right? There's people that are passively on your side. They're not actually actively doing anything, but they agree with you, right? And you don't want to alienate them. Then there's people that they're on your side and they're going to do some things, but maybe they're not going to go as far as you're going to go. Or maybe they have other things that they're, more likely to stick their neck out for. And she just seems to be eating a bunch of people that fundamentally agree with her. They just aren't approaching the issue the way she wants it approached. And
yeah, I don't do fluffy bunnies.
Well, and so the other thing there is, I don't think she even understood I think it was just a knee-jerk reaction where she's trying to be tough on the internet now, which is sad to see. I mean,
well, and she's open. She's got an open soft spot for gay people, and she's open about that.
I understand that.
Right? No, I'm not excusing it. I'm not excusing anybody's behavior whatsoever. What I'm
I don't give a shit. You can tell me I'm an asshole.
But I think that's kind of what triggered her. What was it looked like an attack on gay people when it wasn't. It was an attack on flamboyant furries doing despicable things in front of children.
Well, yeah.
During Gay Pride Parade, and I am totally against children seeing any of that kind of shit.
Yeah, me too.
And there's a lot of people in the gay community that agree with that. Okay, so let's jump into this because remember, we're all members of the gay community now. We're all queer. Just
that's right. It's inclusionary.
That's right. All inclusive, but you must admit your sin. That you're a racist.
I don't even know how to digest this.
Your original sin is that you like penis and you're racist.
So this guy has a bachelor's in theology.
Mm-mm.
He has a PhD in rhetoric.
He's got a master's in theology and a PhD
master's.
In rhetoric. Yes. Yeah, overeducated shithead is what we would call him in the South. But anyway, let's not.
Oh, he's a snake in the grass, y'all. Watch out for this one.
Yeah, he's German. He's from Germany, which means he could have been educated by, who?
Oh, Frankfurt School.
Christy Winters.
Oh shit! Watch out, man.
Yeah.
Shit, Karlin Bershenko actually responded to me about that issue.
What'd she say?
She did?
Yeah, hold on a second. How did I miss this? It was at a weird time, so I probably had a lot of notifications. So I replied to her and I was like, you should unblock this person. I don't think you interpreted what she said the way you think you did. And now she said, I don't think I misinterpreted anything. If she wants them blocked, she can email me and own what she said.
What did I say?
I'm not giving quarter to furries and bondage girls wandering the streets in front of children. Call me a hateful bigot all you want. Nothing will change my stance on this issue. Sorry, not sorry.
Okay.
I actually just replied back and I was like, shit, fucking email her. It's like, anyway, the statement against putting sexual fetishes in front of children in the name of LGBTQ acceptance. I didn't realize you were for that. That was my response.
Holy fuck, dude.
Any response to that?
You're probably going to get blocked.
Maybe. Maybe not.
I didn't say anything about gays. I talked directly about furries that are usurping it just like pedophiles.
It's women shit.
No, it's knee-jerk. Well, I don't. Maybe it is, and I just don't speak that kind of bitch. I don't know.
It's whammon, alpha whammon.
Oh, is this how, like, insecure girls flex? I don't know what to do with this shit. I'm not going to email her because she's just going to block me harder if I do.
Block harder. That's right.
She's just going to unblock me and block me every day so she feels better for like 2 years if I try to email her. She's not, I'm sorry. Not sorry.
All right, Yannik Thiem is the professor at Villanova. And
so you may as well pick the fight.
Let's roll. All right, you ready to roll?
Yep.
Let's do this thing.
Hi, I'm Yannik Thiem from Villanova University, and I'm talking about We're All Queer Now, Neoliberal Aesthetics of Queerness and Whiteness as Ritual today.
Yannik Thiem, who is Associate Professor of Philosophy at Villanova University. He received his first doctorate from the University of Tübingen in Germany in theology, and his second doctorate from the University of California at Berkeley in rhetoric. Thiem specializes in critical theory, feminist theory, queer theory, and social and political philosophy. He's the author of Unbecoming Subjects, Judith Butler Moral Philosophy, and Critical Responsibility. That's Fordham University Press, 2008. His second book, Ripples of Redemptive Time, The Ethics and Politics of Temporality in Hermann Cohen and Walter Benjamin, is under contract with Fordham University Press. He's published articles on the early Frankfurt School, on politics and religion, and in feminist and queer theory in journals such as Telos, Social Research, Law and Critique, MLN, and together with Gabriel Rockhill, Thiem co-directs the book series Reinventing Critical Theory for Rowman and Littlefield International. So, he's a very accomplished scholar who is going to present today a talk entitled We Are All Queer Now, Neoliberal Aesthetics of Queerness and Whiteness and as Ritual. And I ask you all to help me welcome Professor Yannik Thiem.
I do want to thank the fake-ass hippie professor for the intro there.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Ed, for bringing me out here. Thank you for having me. Thank you to the Rowan Philosophy and Religion Department. It's really fun. This is part of a new project. Actually, it's called Politics of Affect, Race, Religion, Sex, and Other Monsters. And this is kind of sort of the part toward the end. So, in her book, The Future of Whiteness, Linda Alcoff comments on the general discomfort with talking about whiteness, noting that whiteness is not cool, is not on the right side of history, and it is associated with many troubling dispositions, most importantly racism. If one doesn't want to take the chauvinist route of defending whiteness against these charges, then why would anyone in their right mind want to be associated with whiteness? Now, conversely, queerness is cool. And we, or this putative we who are in our right mind, do and should want to be queer. Gays and lesbians actually nearly no longer stand out.
He looks like a
Transgender
lesbian.
characters and individuals are more and more visible, such as Caitlyn Jenner or Laverne Cox. Gender fluidity, metrosexuality, and heteroflexibility have become a staple of the everyday iconography and vocabulary. And so
there's a Coke for he, and she,
and her, and me,
and them.
So this was actually the Coca-Cola Super Bowl ad 2018, just this year, and it's actually the first ad campaign that used them. So even Coke. So we're all queer now, gender bending our way into the future.
He sees one commercial and writes a book.
Hey, can we give JJ a wrench for his other account since he got in trouble with YouTube and they took away his first one?
JJ?
Jacob J4746. He's got an omega symbol. It's JJ.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not a social scientist, but here are a couple kind of searches that will be rolling just to show you just how terminology has taken off and really made it into the mainstream. Google Ngrams searches via books, across books. Trends really records Google searches, so if you're ever really bored, you should just play a little bit with that. On the trends, you can actually, and then you can go back. The gender queer spike is Siley Myrus. So as vectors of identities become fluid and the practices and meanings of identifications under...
Siley Myrus?
What the fuck does that mean?
Well, let's Google it, man. Let's see what the fuck he's talking about.
I'm afraid to.
I'm doing
Right. So
Hi, demon.
he's acting like it's like a natural thing and not something that was kind of fabricated into the discourse by activists. That's my issue with this entire thing, right? For instance,
Okay, Sally Myers. All right, Sally Myers is a obviously a drag queen actor, and they've done I don't know, is it a cartoon? I don't know. There's not enough info here, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah, all I can get is Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, but there's the Sally Myers. There's a couple things that popped up, so I don't know. Maybe he's just the English is not his first language, so maybe he's nervous. And this is a male, okay. He does look like a lesbian, though. I thought he was. I thought he was a gay woman when I saw it the first time. So
he's adopting the fads of the ideology he's upholding.
Yeah, it's kind of going for that androgynous.
It makes everybody look androgynous, which used to be kind of an edgy thing.
That was cool. It used to be cool as shit.
Even though the people that did it weren't sitting there trying to be like, "Oh, I'm not a dude. I don't know."
I was just trying to.
But anyway,
chicks went after androgyny dudes, man.
Going back to the charts he showed, he's trying to make some point where like this is becoming a thing in the public consciousness, but what he's not explaining is that it's kind of been forced in there, right? Like it's part of like you'd call it the liberal slippery slope, right? Like they get through one issue and then they have to go to the next group, right? And transgender was the next group. And you can see the same thing with the search terms for critical theory, right? Nobody searched for it until just recently when it was forced into the public discourse. And then it skyrocketed. We're talking 100 times what it was over the last 20 years.
And it's not being accepted. It's not being accepted.
Yeah.
It's not being accepted.
So, like, some of that is, like, whenever you throw something in the public discourse and you just throw stuff on Google Trends, well, all you're really showing is people that could be on any side of the argument just trying to figure out what the debate's about, right? Like, why am I hearing about this in the news? Why am I hearing about this on TV?
Well, as soon as people start listening to the gender fluid stuff, the vast majority of people who listen to it get turned off very, very, very quickly.
Well, it doesn't make sense.
Yes, because it's discordant in your brain.
Exactly.
It doesn't work.
It's a perfect word for it. All right, so we ready to roll?
We can go on.
Let's get into the meat. Let's get into some of the meat of this dude's thing.
Trends, you can actually, and then you can go back. The gender queer spike.
But remember, he's all backing this assertion up based on what's showing up in commercials. And you remember what President Biden said about commercials. Do you see all these like mixed couples in all these commercials? We're in the future, man. Nobody heard that? Him bragging about that? Yeah.
I did, and I kind of I saw it both ways, right? Yeah. Is that are they really showing the reality of America, or are they playing to the sensibilities of a certain audience? But in a way, like I'm saying, in a way, he was right, because these are advertisers, and if they're actually doing their job, they're going after money. So if they're targeting a younger college-age crowd that has, been surrounded with these ideas and they're mostly accepting to it, then of course you would, right? Even if it doesn't reflect the reality of most relationships in America.
It's logical. Yeah, of course. Right. Exactly.
And also, part of the irony behind that is you're going to get some backlash amongst a lot of critical race theorists who are just like, we don't need whitening of black people to be happening. Right? They're actually, it's it's so insane, but we've gone over it. Like, plenty of these people actually, they're pro-segregation when it comes to things like this. Especially Black liberation feminist, but that's a topic for a different time. But if you look up any Black liberation feminist scholar, they don't look too kindly on Black men with white women.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't look too kindly on race mixing of any sort. It's fun living with them around.
Miscegenation.
That's why, what is it? The amazing JP, I forgot what his name is, but the dude that did the video, which was the white nationalists and the critical theorists sitting side by side being like, we agree on so much.
That was actually Brad Pella, and the other guy's Awaken with JP, but he wasn't in the video, he just promoted it.
Yeah, Awaken with JP promoted it. All right, yeah. But yeah, that was the video. Like, that's where that comes from, is that the extreme sides of critical race theory. And you can find those people, and they are cited in the academics, if you want to call it academia. They really don't like race mixing. They really do think that they should legally be allowed to have black spaces.
It's insane. It's all insane.
Well, man, you know, see, especially living where I live, man, that shit, just that kind of, and I guarantee you with black people my age and older, that shit does not ring true. You know what I'm saying? It does not. Fuck. You know what I'm saying? A
quarter of us have mixed race fucking kids.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the segregation thing.
Well, yeah, but then them talking bad about mixed race families and shit. And it's like, do you guys not understand that Generation X was programmed to mix race? Like, we were taught from a young age that it's okay to date outside your race and that you should try to expand your family tree in that way. We were told it was good for us genetically and shit, you know? So you have this entire generation that's been pointed in a different direction, and now you're saying all of that is wrong. And guess what? Gen X is still a big-ass fucking generation. We're the kids of boomers.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, this is fucking retarded. I can't even, it's so stupid. I don't think we have the right kind of word for how stupid this is.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, Yannik is, yeah, here comes more Yannik.
Silent Myris. So as vectors of identities become fluid and the practices and meanings of identifications undergo constant renegotiation, we now also face various conceptual challenges in theorizing the dynamics of intersectionality that are at work in this fluidity. More specifically, as queer bodies of color are given greater force and presence, it becomes often harder to grasp the structural persistence of whiteness as norm and goal. And roughly, my argument here today goes like this. Perhaps counterintuitively, the centering and privileging of a certain ideal of whiteness is often enshrined in our cultural and political imaginary exactly through the expansion of genderqueer games, and often particularly insidiously when the queer bodies made visible are queer bodies of color.
What in the fuck did he just say? Because that, you know what I'm saying? That is not...
He just said that the people they are putting up on the front page for the queer movement are all people of color, and that has a meaning of some sort. But he's just bragging that they've been able to find a lot of gay brown people.
It's like, man, it's like word salad. You know,
Dude, I need stronger drugs, man.
I feel you. I totally relate.
One of the biggest things to understand with what he's saying is he's using the word whiteness, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm just gonna take this directly from New Discourses, right? So, whiteness in critical social justice is to be understood as the defining property of being classified as white, according to this social constructivist view of race, right? So they're saying it's all a social construction. So whiteness is therefore also the property in terms of social and institutional status and identity imbued with legal, political, economic, social.
Uh-oh.
See what happens. Yeah, if you refresh, it goes back to being just fine. There you go.
Yeah, sorry. I just thought it was important to take time to realize every time he says whiteness, he's referring it in those terms.
Yeah,
right?
he's
It
referring
is completely related to white supremacy. This idea that you want me to go through it again? All right, I'll just read it. I'll read it real quick. So this guy keeps talking about whiteness. So I'm just going to read this straight from New Discourses. It's just the first paragraph. I will send a link in the chat. So whiteness in critical social justice is to be understood as the defining property of being classified as white, according to the social constructivist understanding of race. Whiteness is therefore also the property in terms of social and institutional status and identity imbued with legal, political, economic, and social rights and privileges that are denied to others, that white people have unjust access to by virtue of being classified as white. It is therefore also connected to an ideological stance of white supremacy, which roughly means a belief that white people deserve these unjust advantages for whatever set of reasons. And the only thing I added to my own commentary to summarize some of the rest that's on New Discourses is that in 2021, they just passed this idea of whiteness out as a given, right? This is an axiom of critical theory, right? They don't actually provide any objective evidence. They don't believe in objective truth, but there's no evidence that this is what's going on. But they assume that as an axiom. So every time he's saying it is almost like a religious belief that whiteness is what they say it is. And I will post the link in the chat so that people can go read further, because I guarantee this guy's going to say whiteness a lot more, and people probably need to understand what he means.
Yeah, but to be fair, dude, it's like my eyes just gloss over at some point.
Well, you have to be able to take in the string of the same word being said over and over again with little differences between it. This is, if you've ever read any postmodernist philosophy, not Nietzsche, because Nietzsche is very direct, but the vast majority of actual postmodernity, when you're talking about philosophical writings, it's all very double meaning and tongue in cheek. And that's where you see people call this postmodernism, is because it shares that fascia and that way of description and discussion, and it's very, very annoying.
Well, nothing is real, nothing is authentic, right? Language is just another way of exercising power. That's kind of how you get to gender theory, right? It's just like, fuck everything we know about reality. We're gonna tear it apart because it's all bullshit, and it turns out that we're all queer now.
All right, let's roll. You ready? Say yes, everybody.
Yes, sir.
Now, in order to think through this problem, I will look at how aesthetic practices inscribe norms, and I will read these inscriptions as a form of ritualization. So to my mind, turning to ritual theory as a conceptual tool is helpful because rituals create always geographies of sacred versus profane, or in this sense also exceptional spaces and the everyday space. And they even condone transgressions within sacred space and time, precisely in order to reinforce the tabooing of transgressions externally. Now, as rituals become habitual and pervasive, they're no longer perceived as rituals, but simply as how the world works. And I'll have three parts to my argument. So, rituals of transgression, queer subjects, and new old taboos.
Okay, hold on, Irene.
The whiteness of transpatriarchy as style and ritual, and then very briefly concluding with neoliberalism's queer rituals.
I need to state something very, very clearly here. Rituals do not become part of your everyday life if you do them often enough. Rituals are not called part of our routine for a reason. Rituals are something that you do specially, and your brain literally creates separate pathways for your rituals and your religious activities than it does for your daily regular activities, no matter how often you do your rituals. He's already abusing the word. Just so you know, his premise is already flawed. What he's talking about is just habit.
Okay.
Right, habit versus ritual, which is a huge. I worked with a lot of junkies, and they said that there was a ritualistic aspect of the way they prepared to shoot up, and it was each one had their own little process.
Yes, and it's spiritual, and it does something different in their brain. It fires differently for addicts. It's almost the exact same thing you'll see a fundamentalist Christian when you record their brain and they're praying.
Well,
it's almost the same connections.
What they told me was it heightened their awareness to receive the drug, right? That if they fell out of their ritual, it wouldn't hit them like it would if they had done the ritual. The ritual does some kind of preparation and gets their body keyed up to receive it. It's just like it was fascinating talking to these people about this shit. But that's an observation. It's just a personal observation. That's I guess what would you call it? Anecdotal contribution.
But but you've done it enough. It's more than anecdotal at that point.
Right. That's the reason I brought it up. If I hadn't had like 30 or 40, junkies tell me that shit, if it had been like 2 or 3 or 4, I would, but it's a significant number. I worked with about 10,000 people. So, I think.
Yeah, and Carl called it Harry Potter is now teaching at Hogwarts. I still think he looks like a lesbian.
He does look like a lesbian. I totally agree with that.
So first part, this was an actual church ad, but it's kind of just gratuitous. All right. So insofar as media images function to ritualize and hence sacralize gender fluidity, queer forms of expression are indeed sanctioned, yes, but at the same time new taboos are created and often old ones are reaffirmed.
Just want to thank Becca Fairley. Thank you for the $20 for the moving fund or whatever you wish. And I do have a moving fund on this show. I'm trying to pick up $1,000. So when Uzi and I move into the house, it won't be such a burden financially on us. And I would appreciate that big time. Just throwing it out there. Now,
not all visual discourse sacralizes, but it seems to me that we should read certain forms of aestheticization in that way, especially as we're dealing with advertising, and I'll show you a couple of clips today. And in fact, we have to admit under capitalism, all entertainment is advertising, and maybe even all infotainment like this as well.
Another abuse of entertainment.
University.
Okay.
I mean, soon your professors will show up with all kinds of sponsors plastered across
off
their,
this motherfucker. Okay, absolutely 100%. Entertainment is not advertising. It is never intended to be advertising. Advertising works in your brain differently. Again, this guy is a fucking moron. This is what happens when you go to soft sciences and you never pay attention in your hard science classes. Entertainment and advertisement work in your brain differently. Entertainment is supposed to be a form of either escapism or it's supposed to be a way to teach a moral. Yeah. And that's what entertainment is supposed to do. Advertising is not part of it.
So what's shitty is what you said is absolutely correct, right? But part of the way that this critical theory nonsense disseminates its way to the general population and people just kind of hold these things as truisms is that like you can kind of see how like, oh, there's like a lot of crossover between like branding things and entertainment to people.
And he's comparing this to an infomercial.
People, right?
Right. His presentation is like an infomercial. He just said that.
But like, yeah, people that go back to like, I learned about this word in high school. They call it infotainment, right? Okay. So you actually have this crossover between, information and entertainment, which is, I mean, that's where you would actually get the advertisements in entertaining. So, like, is there an overlap? Yes, it's kind of true, but it's not like he's not telling the whole story. That's not really how it works. Like, he's making this broad brush assumption, which is what critical theory does nonstop, right? They make these broad brush assumptions. They don't have to prove it either, right? They just come out and they come out. That's another axiom that they would have.
Yes. I'm so annoyed right now, y'all. I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed. This is such an abuse of words, and it's such an abuse of the psyche.
Well, we've already gone over, if you go through our early shows, how 99% of the way critical theory works is just abusing language.
Well,
and they took it directly from the postmodernists, right? Like,
whoa. It's the white man's language. You got to get that right first. This is language developed by white people.
Language and objective truth. That is the master's tools.
Exactly. And we got to deconstruct that shit. Well, yeah, man. You got to take his power away, so you got to just deconstruct it. Take it away. Change it. Metamorphosis into something that gives the disenfranchised power. That's all it's about.
Well, okay. Sorry. Ray made me laugh really hard. He said, "What would he expect from a lesbian Horcrux?" Sorry, I had to mute and choke for a second there. That was kind of awesome.
Hugh Takanami donates $25. Thank you so much. Get a couple of rednecks and a keg of beer, and I'll get done quicker than you can kiss a duck. It'll get done quicker than you can kiss a duck. Indeed, no doubt. Right. Well, that's the game plan, dude. I'm going to find some young strapping dudes that drive pickup trucks, and I'm going to pay them. So, because
sweet.
Yeah, it is what it is. All right. So you want to keep moving, or we done?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to point out he's lying, because entertainment and its origin actually has to do with storytelling and passing down oral traditions. It has shit to do with advertising. It's how we learn how to build memory and how we form what is society now.
At the very best, he has a sophomoric understanding of advertisement and entertainment. At best.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It's just such a childish. He doesn't understand any of the origins, and I don't know how you can have a master's in theology.
But he knows one thing.
Evolutionary psychology.
He knows one thing, Thelma, that we are all queer. Just remember that. Okay?
Okay, the lesbian man is going to tell us we're all queer, sure.
Indeed. All right, let's roll.
Clothes like race car drivers. So beneath the indeed real expansion of gender and sexual fluidity, the hegemony of white cisgender maleness often gets further enshrined. This dynamic becomes visible through attending to the pop cultural sacralization of queerness that allows us to shift our focus from identities and subject formation to the affective infrastructures surrounding and subtending identity and subject formation. Now, to read this aesthetic and liturgical dimension of the inclusion of gender and sexual transgressiveness in popular discourse, I want to turn to a 2005 commercial of the drink Campari. The ad is entitled The Secret, and is still and was at the time the first one that mobilized an aesthetic suspended between cross-dressing, gender-bending, and transgender desires.
That we might need to skip through copyright.
What is Campari? What is that? What do they make? Can you see that? Can anybody see that? Hello?
Sorry, I didn't know I was muted. I'm sorry.
I didn't know I was muted either. Yeah, I was listening.
Damn it.
Campari, what does that say?
Campari is a wine company, as memory serves.
Okay. All
They
right.
might be fashion. There's something that's only for rich people. This is...
Yeah.
Yeah, so apparently this thing
So,
that most of us have never heard of.
if you're binding, don't bind like that. It's very dangerous. But 2005. So there's really a lot to be said about this clip here, and especially also the play on secret and the revelation of truth and truths, which lends itself actually to an analysis of consumer capitalism as a religion of self-transformation and self-realization. But I want to turn our attention to how the ad mobilizes a liturgical frame to stage the gender queering, and by doing so I want to examine how transgressions against certain norms become available precisely as and celebrated as they reinscribe and shelter other norms. So, okay. So the ad audio-visually cites Stanley Kubrick's movie Eyes Wide Shut from 1999, which is in itself an adaptation of Arthur Schnitzler's dream novella from 1926. Wow, it's very loud to me, but anyway, that's the Eyes Wide Shut. So Eyes Wide Shut and the dream novella, which is the literary text behind that, both play with the allure and danger of transgressive, erotic, and sexual practices, and with the possibility and impossibility of containing the transgressions within the ritualized frame that makes them permissible in the first place. Through its visuals and its soundtrack, you might have noted it's the exact same soundtrack, the Campari ad mobilizes a fusion of the Catholic and occult ritual that Eyes Wide Shut stages. The soundtrack is actually a Romanian chant recorded backwards.
No, that wasn't Catholic or occult. That was pure. It was pure Mason. That was stonemasons.
It's Masonic. Yeah.
It was completely Masonic. Fuck you. That was one group. One fucking group. Don't you try to conflate the rest of us in with that those motherfuckers either, because I don't use that imagery. Fuck you. Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
That was an absolute lie right there.
And also playing exactly on both Catholic but then occultness. The liturgy invests the commercial's gender, ritual, and pursuit with gravitas, and also rarefies the transgender aesthetic. Gender is shrouded here in secrecy in a double sense. So there's both the secret of each of the characters that's revealed at the end, and the eroticism of gender itself that is secret in only that the initiated get to have access to embody and to experience its transgressive pleasures.
Right, and at the end, to gain entrance into that society, they had to give them their daughter.
Yeah.
He misses that completely. You know,
yeah.
It's a human sacrifice. And some of it's allegory. See, all right, inside the Catholic Church right now, all right, there's talk of schism in Europe. Okay.
Are you surprised?
No, not at all. Especially not with Francis. He's a communist piece of shit. Hey, Miles. Always good to have Miles Bates in the chat there, chatting it up. I salute you, sir.
Miles?
Yeah, man. I heard you made a baby. And
shit, congratulations.
Yeah, no shit. Exactly.
Fucking Miles made a person.
His swimmer's work. That's right. All right, he's a man.
Welcome to the big world, dude. It's
big
scary
hug, brother.
Out here. Have fun.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
All right, we're going to keep rolling with this dude.
So similar to in Eyes Wide Shut, the protagonist then gets tossed out because he was not one of the ones who belonged there, who could have access to this ritual space.
He didn't watch the whole movie.
So the liturgical frame provides a medium by which the erotic elaboration of gender becomes fluid and gender and sexual norms are reworked, but through which the restrictions are also reinscribed and thus rendered illegible. So the first really telling restriction lies in the final refusal of the ad to cast transmasculinity as a sustainable identification. The undoing of the long hair at the end of the ad establishes the body in the suit not only as female, but also as feminine. Right? In order to understand this is a body in transition, it would have been sufficient to just reveal the bound chest. The hair being undone actually is added to that, and then the bound breast gets relegated from our view. So the anxiety revolves not solely around whether we're beholding a female or male body, but also about the connection between femininity and femaleness. The problem in the ad, and which is really not limited to the ad, is its twofold refusal then. It refuses first to entertain non-cis male masculinity as more than temporary play. And this person just puts it on and then it gets resolved.
Non-cis male masculinity, like what you're doing, dude?
Yeah, so Man Squatch is asking, is this guy paid by the word? This vocabulation reminds me of when I was writing papers and used to use it the word out.
But that's how all of them are in reality, though.
Well, I talked about earlier about how critical theory is a lot of how it pervades is baffling people with bullshit. Like,
yes,
especially people that are kind of dumb. Like, they don't want to feel dumb. So
right.
If they hear smart words, like, or words that just like they chain together and it sounds like a good idea, like they don't want to go against it because they don't know how to.
Oh, so does it mean I'm dumb? All right, so when like this string of words that make no sense to me whatsoever make me like fall asleep?
Yeah. So the irony behind
because I'm dumb.
No. It's actually the fact that you're like they're using these words that are so ridiculous that you actually have an alert to say, I don't even know what the fuck this guy's talking about. Like, this is bullshit. But there's a lot of people that do not want to admit. Well, yeah, a lot of people don't want to admit to that. Like, they don't have that ingrained in their system like you do, Irate.
Right.
Like, a lot of people just want to go with it.
I don't know, man. I've had a lot of smoke blown up my ass in the past, so you know.
Yeah, I think there's a part of your brain, it turns into a defense mechanism. Like, when they start doing this, I struggle to be able to take in the words they're saying.
Right. It's almost like I reject it, and my brain scrambles it to where it's like, all right, so have you ever seen the movie Pontypool? It's like they have that verbal language virus thing. It's kind of like that. It's like it comes in as obviously English, but my brain doesn't hear it as English. It sounds just, I don't know. It sounds dumb, and it makes me want to sleep.
It does. It makes it hard for me to listen to the words. Like, my brain wants to do anything else.
No doubt.
Before we go back to the video, I do want to say one thing. So what this guy's doing is actually like a really cool trick of gender theory, because he's explaining something that we kind of already understand, right? We understand certain attitudes, traits, and behaviors to be feminine or masculine. But we also, for a long time, understood that, like, just because this trait is feminine doesn't mean a man cannot have that trait. Just like we've understood for a long time that women can have masculine traits. And we used to just call those kind of women tomgirls, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they were still women, right? We just kind of had this thing where, like, we observed as a whole that there's differences between men and women.
See, I'm a big student.
And on average, they act a certain way. But we assign these certain traits as masculine and feminine. But we just did that based on the reality of what happens on average. But the people that fall outside that norm, like, granted, there's been times where, yeah, you outcast people that are not acting within that norm. It's like we've moved further and further to be like, it's okay, right? It's totally okay to be a woman that has these more masculine traits. You're still a woman,
right? Well, it's like Carl Jung referred to the anima and the animus, And he says that within the masculine and the feminine like psyche makeup, they each have features of the other that aren't completely developed. Right?
Yep. Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And that makes a lot more sense to me than just say, just saying, well, you are this way, and the reason you think this way is because you're obviously screwed up, and you need to be fixed.
This is the fundamental flaw with all gender and queer theory, is that instead of looking at it how me and Irate just explained it, they're just like, nope, we have to create separate categories for all these people that have these different traits based on their biological sex.
Right.
Even though they seem to not like biological sex, but that's really how the traits are being defined. It doesn't make any sense.
How much Heinlein have you guys read?
I think Starship Troopers is the only thing I read by Heinlein.
That's the only thing I need to actually cite. It's the one that most people have read. It's a fantastic book. If you haven't read Starship Troopers, y'all need to go read this book. It's actually kind of scary how accurate he is talking about the fall of modern society, because he cites that the scientists took over. And if you listen, and how bizarre and silly everything got at that point. And if you listen to a lot of the rhetoric that's being used these days, the science is a problem because they're abusing what is science, and we're giving way too much leeway to just science.
Yeah. And that's terrifying.
They're not doing actual science anymore either.
That's the thing. But they call themselves scientists, don't they?
Well, what science has become is a financial generation machine. And this is a whole like topic. It's really not even adjacent to this, but I mean, it's literally academia is all about the Benjamins now, and it's I think that climate change is the ultimate example of a totally made up bullshit science that can be quote verified by subjective information.
I'm not going to get into that one now. Like I agree with the sentiment of what you're saying.
Okay.
I do want to read what Dr. Kiev said, which is Kiev has a cousin. It's a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Was a tomboy. Didn't ever think she was male, and she's now getting married to a man. Right? Like that's fine. Like we all expected that. We didn't have to create a special category just because she didn't conform to gender norms.
If you put a one in the
don't not conform to gender norms. Do you know what makes I'm a tomboy. I can weld. I wrench on cars. I can build shit.
Right on.
And I look more girl than any. I'm incredibly feminine, gentlemen.
Right, and I was the counselor artist.
G's. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
But 32 G's with a 33-inch waist. Come on now. You don't get much more feminine than that, y'all.
I was actually meant to tag that on as like we have our resident tomboy on our stream, which is Atima.
Right.
Which is probably why, like, when we finally move away from race to gender theory, that she's getting
I'm gonna go crazy.
The most heated I've seen her in like with several streams, because we have not visited this topic in a long time.
Yeah, because you have no idea. My middle daughter is she's cornbread. She's corn-fed, y'all. She is a big girl. Her bones are just ridiculous. She's got muscle like I've never seen, and she's only 14, and she's like 5'9". It's amazing. I can use jacks, and it works just fine, Demon. I know how to do it. Okay. Okay. So yeah, go for it.
Haha, just a joke. And secondly, it refuses to leave unresolved the possibility that the body of the person in the suit might indeed be a body whose gender is a project in perpetual progress, with a destination of queerness beyond male and female. In the end, what we get told, a female-bodied person must be a woman, not just a woman, but a feminine woman. The performative possibilities of genderqueer performance then are limited for the female-bodied person. In the last instance, that performance of masculinity must be only performance and cannot attain what we call performative force, meaning that when something is performed, it really, the doing makes the being, right? You might have read sort of the archetypical example is the baptizing, or the way in which people get married, or when you get your degree conferred. The university president says, by the power of the whoever it is, board of trustees or university vested in me, I now declare you bachelors of arts. And then you are a bachelor of arts. So here, the performance of masculinity for the non-cis male body can't be performative in the sense that it cannot make that body really masculine. It has to be just a performance. There has to be some other reality behind it. So the doing of transmasculinity can lead to being a man or a genderqueer body in any way beyond being female. Now, it's easy to overlook, but the gendering in the ad is inseparable from its racial dimension. Unlike the Campari ad, Eyes Wide Shut actually doesn't mobilize any interplay between race and gender. Eyes Wide Shut plays with sexual transgressiveness, whereas the Campari commercial plays with and eroticizes gender transgression. The commercial opens by staging what looks or cites stereotypical masculinity. We have a single guy at the bar scoping the room for women, and then his eye gets caught by a woman in a black evening gown who's about to ascend the wide stairs.
Yes. Okay, so here's what he's done so far. So far, he's tried to make gender and race inseparable. However, he's having a problem with that because the first ad, both people are racially ambiguous, so it fucks him. Right. Okay?
Indeed.
But he's really trying to tie race and gender theory together.
Yeah.
And it's really crazy because
and he's trying to tie that
with his.
He's trying to tie that into the Catholic theology and into liturgy. You see, he's talking about liturgy and shit.
If this guy has a PhD in rhetoric, I'm a monkey's uncle. There's no way this guy took an actual class on rhetoric because he isn't even using rhetoric.
What's another word for rhetoric? It's bullshit, right?
You don't realize how easy it is to get through college these days.
Are you serious?
Whenever you're dealing with this bullshit, yeah, it's pretty easy.
Right.
All you have to do is
pay your bill.
Many people have said is you pay the bill and you you promote the ideas that the professor wants you to promote, and then you get the degree.
Exactly. You suck the professor's dick and you try to imitate the professor in your writing, and you echo everything the professor said.
But you don't understand a lick of what you fucking put on paper.
Well, yeah, you understand it, but it's just it doesn't make sense to you because it's you've heard it over and over again and you still don't get it because it's not gettable. Right? All right. So let's keep rolling.
Of course, the naked fact
that is a good one
catches
for
the eye.
Mrs. Hokum.
But the staging of masculinity also operates through its confluence with the racial coding of the character in the suit as Asian. And that's actually an intentional casting choice. If you look into the Italian ad company and their explanation of this, they actually said, we explicitly picked out an Asian person for the exotic flavor. In his book, Racial Castration, David Eng argues that Asian masculinity under the auspices of the Western gaze is rendered effeminate and cannot ever quite appear as bona fide masculinity, and often not even as quite male. While Eng in his book is concerned mainly with male bodies and male homosexuality, his arguments link quite well with the trans theorist Jack Halberstam's examination of the ways in which representations of female masculinity, and by the extension trans male masculinity, tend to be contextualized and then carefully curated as not quite real.
Hold on.
So
I just want to
be clear
right
here.
here.
I'm not.
He's saying by extension, the trans male identity. Like, there's no extension here. Like, these are just personality traits people can have. That's literally all it is, and we've always known this. Like, take any personality trait, and you go back to clinical psychology. That's something Jordan Peterson's really big on. But, like, they'll put that, like, male and female with these different traits, and then they'll throw it on a bell curve, and there's overlap. There's always going to be overlap. Right? All we've ever said about these things that this person's talking about is, on average, they're more likely to manifest within one gender versus another. It's never been a matter of, it's always going to be one, like, you know, one gender will always have this trait, right? That's never what we said. So this guy is like, he's backing into what I said at the beginning, where he's just like, we need to rethink gender, even though it was just kind of this like loosely defined thing, right? Well, actually, it was a very discreetly defined thing, right? Where we saw there's biological males, biological females, and then we have these behavioral traits that on average persist in females or males. And that's absolutely true. And this guy's actually not even denying it. But what he's saying is, if somebody falls outside, like on like one end of the curve, like the far end, that they get a new classification. They're special. They're no longer male or female. There's something else. And that's important.
That's infantile on its face. Yeah, I know, man, Squatch. It's making me crazy too. They said the Asians are effeminate in Western culture, in Western eyes. Are you goddamn serious? What the fuck are rooftop Koreans? I will never fuck with a Vietnamese man. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
The Japanese sense of honor, like, for men. What? That's
sumo wrestlers.
Is that feminine?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know where he got that from. He watches too much bad anime. That's all I can think. And he listens to K-pop. That's
wrong.
all I can think.
Not
This guy's
wrong.
I'm gonna get this stream mixed. I gotta watch my language.
You're fine, man. All right, ready? We're gonna move on.
Not saying that Asian masculinity, male or female, is somehow not real masculinity. But the ad, in its staging, reveals how gender coding is racially delimited and animated, and how there's no way to rescue the ad by a queer way of reading. So even if we, as sophisticated queer readers, queer embracing audience, now say, oh, the individual in the suit, to me, they never appeared really as male. I always saw them as an androgynous female person, because as a female person, being Asian made them look more masculine and genderqueer rather than less. And so I saw a lesbian dynamic from the get-go. Because then, what we've been enlisted in here by the ad is a gaze that, first of all, equates Asian masculinity now with queerness, per se. So again, a racial confluence with a particular marginalized sexual positioning. And B, it cannot, we still can't sustain seeing non-cis male masculinity as simply male. So the dynamic in the ad, and that's not, right, this is not our, what's interesting here is...
We were still live. Once again, Discord, it keeps crashing, and I don't know why. All right, and I'm not running it through a browser tab. I'm running it the app. So something going on, y'all. Sorry.
ads sort of teach us ways of seeing at moments when we're really only half paying attention. And so this is not about intentionally looking better, but it's really the way in which we're enlisted into particular ways of seeing gender and race and sexuality. The dynamic in the ad here demonstrates to us how eroticism becomes legible as gendered precisely by mobilizing and at the very same time putting the racial coding under erasure. The racial coding of the person in the suit becomes the very medium that renders the gender ambiguous and fluid enough to heighten the queerness of the pursuit for us. So the ad reveals, probably very unintentionally, something about the peculiar shape-shifting dynamics of intersectionality when we try to read race, gender, and desire together. That also explains why such intersectional readings in theorizing are so hard to sustain beyond enumerating lists, because we have to see how one aspect ends up becoming the medium for another. So using the very Orientalist trope of non-European sexuality as unbounded lascivious sensuality, the ritual of gliding from an erotics of sex to the erotics of gender toward the end of the ad here protects actually white maleness as exactly that which cannot be touched by promoting genderqueer transgender fluidity and stylization. The sacralization of gender queerness then taboos non-white trans masculinity as something that can be really sustained, and so ends up enshrining the whiteness of transpatriarchy as a style and ritual. So I want to put some pressure on and try to unpack what that might mean for us. This is a very recent ad, but it's kind of interesting. Over the last year and a half, I started really thinking about this earlier, but last year and a half, we've seen an explosion really of genderqueer advertising. But again, you see it's very, very stylized, sort of, and of course, very white. So I want to put a little pressure on understanding the whiteness of transpatriarchy as a style and ritual.
Transpatriarchy, people. Just remember that. We're all queer, and we're all part of the transpatriarchy.
Within late capitalist society, we meet here the capitalist premise and promise of self-transformation through consumption, and social mobility through consumptive self-transformation instead of through structural change. Now the metaphysics, or what in philosophy we call metaphysics, at the heart of the late consumer capitalist society is here the promise of performativity of performance. So what I mean by that is this. The promise that capitalism works with at this point is that performance is actually performative. So whatever I perform, I will become that. If I wear whatever that is, if I buy the fancy clothes, I now can too rise in my class status.
That's not capitalism, that's delusion.
Yeah.
That's not capitalism, that's delusion. He is
See, and well, no.
All on any planet.
Right, and this is obviously his Marxist background is seeping through his rhetoric right here, right?
How the fuck does he have a PhD in rhetoric? None of this is rhetoric. It's just retardation. He's spewing bullshit. Yes, you're right, Faithless. That is advertising. That is advertising. That is, yeah, okay. Oh, this guy doesn't even make any sense.
Man Squad said, I thought transpatriarchy was the airline of the elite.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
He's
but
good.
it's
He's
funny,
good.
man. It's fucking funny. He's got a pack a pile of shit.
I'm sorry,
brother.
Excel.
I mean, I have a lot to say, but I don't even know if I could possibly say it all in this stream. First off, the way he's talking about capitalism is something a lot of people misunderstand. Unlike Marxism, which bled into a philosophy plus an economic theory, capitalism at its core is really just an economic theory, right? It just uses some premises. If you want the most people to possibly be prosperous, then you need to allow for the most economic freedom possible, right?
In open society, right?
They're just that's their capitalism doesn't pretend that it's going to be perfect. It never did. Adam Smith never said it. Even the hardcore capitalists like fucking Mises and Rothbard, they never said that either, right? They just said, if you want to have the most possibility for the most people to be prosperous in a society, then you need to follow these set of principles, which is, adherence to private property rights, allowance for voluntary exchange, and no coercive interference by the government, right? That was it. That was their theory. They didn't say it was going to be perfect. They didn't say there was going to be problems that could arise from it. They just said, like, that's probably the best way to go about things. Marx came along and said, no, we shouldn't do that. We should have total control. We should throw that completely out the fucking window. And guess what happened when every single, like, faction of people that followed Marx tried to implement something derivative of his works? It's always ended up bad. 100% of the time. Meanwhile, every country that to some degree has, adopted the capitalist mind approach, right? Where you let your citizens be mostly free to own their own property and to voluntarily exchange with people. Guess what has happened? Prosperity has gone up. Poverty has gone down.
So has peace. Seriously,
Exactly,
peace
because-
increases with the more capitalism you have. People are less willing to
exactly,
kick
like-
each other's asses if they have a way to get it themselves.
Yeah, well, it's because, like, also you become codependent on the other nations. Like, trade is a good thing. Like,
Yeah.
I understand that, like, Donald Trump's war with China with like free trade can never exist whenever you're trading with a slave population, right? Because basically you're just paying for slaves.
Right.
But, like, between other free nations, right, like, you get this mutual beneficial effect. Like, we have a lot of oil and gas, more than we can use. And in other countries, like, we have a lot of iron ore and other stuff that will help you build buildings with steel. Like, it's mutually beneficial for those two countries to trade with each other. That is not... It's, like, this is economics 101, and that's what's hilarious, is, like, no actual economist or Marxist, right? They're all social studies professors like this guy. Or what theology? He said he wasn't a social scientist. Anyway, they don't actually deal with actually looking
a social science.
Yeah, the closest thing you have is a fringe movement of modern monetary theorists that they're not socialist per se, but they just say that we can make socialism happen by structuring our economy behind modern monetary theory. Yet, regardless, like, this is what I said about critical theory to begin with, and this guy is trying to blame capitalism. They do that all the time. They just point at capitalism as this thing that is imperfect. Yeah, of course it's fucking imperfect. Nobody said it was. Right? But they don't actually have an answer to it. They don't know what's going to solve their problems when it comes to the economy. They just know capitalism is bad. And that's it. And that's all this guy said. Capitalism bad.
Right.
But and that's all he said for, like, no reason.
Yeah, he has no alternative to how we can make an economy work. He just says capitalism bad.
Yeah, it's retarded.
All right, you want to roll?
Yes.
Brand myself with the right university degree. I also become the right individual. So the the performance brings about the being. The doing makes the being. In this aspect, capitalism's promise of performativity departs from the reading of gender performativity that was introduced by Judith Butler. Some of you might have come across that in her reading. So she argues that gender and subject formation are performative in the sense that gender norms are always ascribed to us from birth, and we become habituated into them qua their omnipresent ritualization in our society. Individual performance cannot at will remake the social norms and the material bodily ways in which these norms have become flesh in our individual and collective bodies and psyches. I can't just wake up and say, oh, today I want to be Icelandic. Boom. And an Icelandic, right, 70-year-old woman. That would be individual performance. It doesn't make the being, right?
Why not? I mean,
There's a complete thought there. There wasn't a complete thought. They stopped halfway through and started a new thought and said they were all the same thought.
Right.
So there's no way to argue that correctly.
Well, I mean, it's like, so he made it sound like, you know, there's the subjective aspect only fits certain situations. I mean, if I want to say that I'm an old woman from Iceland, I can say that all day long.
So that's Butler, but Butler says, well, the way in which we know about sort of how the girl becomes a girl is by having treated the little girl as a girl, and there's all these norms, and even when one tries to push back, there's a way in which one gets always pulled back into it. So all this is now more or less taken as given in the sense that people, will talk on the news about, gender roles, gender is what people perform, but it's actually appropriated in a very individualist way. So the new capitalist appropriation of performativity is that performance will overcome these ascriptions. The new Promethean promise is that individual doing can indeed unilaterally create being. You alone are responsible for what you make out of yourself. Your doing creates your being. Ooh. Kind of makes us want to go back to some essential being. So this promise looks neutral and open to all shapes and versions of you do you. Everyone can and should aspire to be anything through managing their life and investing in their appearance. However, as the dominant cultural and institutional imagery surrounding us makes clear, the ideal that we are to aspire to is the ideal of the white, wealthy, heteroflexible male subject.
What does heteroflexible mean?
Heteroflexible? Isn't that just that would be bisexual.
It doesn't actually mean anything. That's the reality.
Exactly
That's the reality.
It means nothing.
It's a non-word, right?
Yeah, like he's creating this word to create this thing that he has on an axiom where he just thinks that everybody's sexuality is socially constructed. And the biggest problem with this is this is why even all our gay friends are like, this stuff is bullshit, right? Like, yeah, maybe at some point growing up, something influenced my sexuality. It doesn't change the fact that I'm a dude attracted to dudes.
Sorry, Ramen.
Right? Like, I just am. And there's nothing you can do. Like, there's no formula to just make a dude think it's okay to want to have sex with another dude. It's impossible. And that's also why I am, like, in a way, this guy is trying to take my ability to understand people being gay away, right? Because I can't in my mind as a heterosexual person.
Maybe they're just yoga instructors.
Man Squad says heteroflexible means a straight dude who wears a unitard and can do the splits.
That's what I was thinking. Yes. Maybe it just means straight yoga instructors. Is that what we're going with, Is Joe Rogan
holy fuck
heteroflexible because he does the hot yoga? Is that what
Come
we're
on,
saying?
hang in there, Ramen. Don't leave 5 minutes before the miracle happens.
But you get what I'm saying, though. Like, it takes away my ability to be like one of the best questions is, well, if you think being gay is a choice, could you fuck a dude if you wanted to? And I was like, the answer is no. Like, I couldn't. Like, I couldn't just choose to do that. Like, granted, like, this is like, it's one of those things where, sure, under, like, pure duress, right? Gun to my head, like, I have to let it happen. Maybe. But, like, I could never bring myself to be the actual desire of mine.
Right.
And this guy's taking it away. He's taking that understanding of what it's like to be a gay gay away from me. He's taking that understanding of what it's like to be gay away from me and saying that I just have other problems that aren't allowing me to explore my own queerness.
Oh, it is kind of funny, man. It's just like this circular like logic, and it's like things. What is that Steely Dan lyric? The things that pass for knowledge I don't understand.
I think that's it. That sounds about right. Oh man,
that's a good lyric, isn't it? Man, they're a good band.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm a little burnt out on them because they're like all my stepdad listened to for like 12 years.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I feel
it's cool.
Yeah, I got a case of dynamite. I can hold out here all night.
The inclusion of people of color, gender queerness that runs through current edgy visual discourse tends to be accompanied by strategies of rarefying the bodies of color. So here, that's Jaden Smith, Will Smith's kid, who's a genderqueer model. It's kind of interesting. Queer bodies of color always must be glamorous to qualify for inclusion and require then real whiteness next to them to ensure that the difference remains perceptible. In that way, bodies of color are, yes, included, but they're being included by being turned into fashion accessories of the white bodies, which on their own would actually be rather generic gender presentations. But they obtain, I mean, if you look at here, this is, I mean, okay, she's having the little tough look, but in a way it's not like she's really, this body here is not really pushing gender boundaries that much by putting on a skirt, a handbag, long hair. But by having the genderqueer body of color next to them, they turn now into having a queer edge precisely through the proximity to the person of color's body. And there's a lot to be said here, and that I'm not talking about the complete absence of fat bodies. So body shape, fat queer bodies are...
Real quick, did he just make, well, I have a black friend argument? Because I thought that argument was forbidden, but it sounded like he just made the I have a black friend argument.
You want to pop it back by in a minute? Yeah. Boo Boo, Uzi Q says, to do, da da da, that's all I want to say to you. Yeah. Poets, priests, and politicians have words to thank for their positions. Words that scream for your submission, and no one's jamming their transmissions. All right, we'll go back and we'll find out exactly what he said. Ready?
Yes.
She's having the little tough look, but in a way it's not like she's really, this body here is not really pushing gender boundaries that much by putting on a skirt, a handbag, long hair. But by having the genderqueer body of color next to them, they turn now into having a queer edge precisely through the proximity to the person of color's body. Argument. And there's a lot...
What?
He totally made the black friend argument. That's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Black friend who happens to be genderqueer.
To be said here, and that I'm not talking about the complete absence of fat bodies. So body shape, fat queer bodies are...
Whoa! Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Everything is a fucking body.
Whoa! Fat bodies. All right, that's the new one. Injecting new shit. This is bothering me.
Virtually unrepresentable in visual popular discourse at this point.
Critical
so the much applauded 2017 commercial by the makeup company Maybelline, which features Shayla Mitchell and Manny Gutierrez, is a remarkable example of how queerness as a style is available to people of color in the context of wealth and glamour, and then how even those embodiments must in the end reaffirm their relation to whiteness and maleness.
Pause. All right, so I want one in the chats if you think that everything you've heard right now is somebody trying to sound smart while being really, really dumb. I want to press 2 in the chat if you think it was somebody that actually was smart. Carry on.
All right,
I'm gonna put my answer. I'm very, very confused why he keeps using the word bodies. These are people. They aren't just the cells and the complex structures.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Once again, I mean, you're all right. So it's harder to shoot them in the back of the head if you think they're people.
That's true. But you know, they're people.
You know, but no, they're bodies. They're bodies.
I hate this dehumanization of people.
So, first of all, it's kind of notable that we need a narrative that justifies why a cisgender appearing man would enjoy putting on makeup. But even more so, the narrative here situates his transgressive desire, on the transgressive desire on the side of the Latino character.
Just a second.
I'm sure. Hey, hi, Raid. Welcome back.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. All right, keep rolling.
In the context of being supportive of a black woman, getting bossed up. So the labor of legitimating the Latino character's queering actually rests with the black woman. Secondly, we have a very clear, kind of obvious class dynamic running through the commercial that are intricately bound up with the gender and race dynamics. So on the one hand, it's clearly an advertisement that is readying us as the audience for a more diverse managerial and well-off class that also has people of color in it. The Latino and black couple are being served by a white bellhop who seems to actually be quite content serving them. But on the other hand, the setting also rarefies where Latinx trans femininity can find a place. Not only must it be sheltered by the liberal bastion of New York City, but Latinx male trans femininity seems also to require a rather swanky Manhattan hotel suite as the vessel to contain it high above the roofs of everyday life.
It's supposed to look glamorous,
applying the makeup, if you look, what's gender?
Yeah, I think what he's missing here is the context that all, of Maybelline's advertising, just like anything you get from Calvin Klein, all these, upscale cosmetics, man, they're shot in the glamorous locations. They have beautiful models because that's what sells. It's always been that way. I've yet to ever see an ugly fucking model from the past, right? Not even an average looking model. They're always knockouts and thin. And it's like, I know because of the thin thing, we must break down some walls here, and accept different body shapes. But as long as it doesn't happen on commercials like this, is fine.
Oh my God. Man-Squatch just pointed out something. Did this twig just create a new celebration, a queercenera, when you queer the Latinx? Do you know what happens when you queer Latinos? They get fucked up in their neighborhoods. There's already, they don't tolerate gay much in a lot of the Hispanic, especially Central American. And a lot of the more rural and hardcore Catholics and stuff, they don't tolerate this kind of shit. And when you're trying to mainstream it, you're going to have a whole lot of men that are going to be beating the shit out of people coming at them with makeup. I don't know how they're going to try to do this. Latinos are, that seems like a really dumb fucking idea.
Right.
Queering here actually needs to be counterbalanced by aspiring to a paler rather than darker skin color. But, of course, we have this first part of the ad, which still needs to be complemented by the second part. So the first part is followed by the second half, where it seems to me it's interesting to ask how exactly the second part functions in negotiating gender, sexuality, race, and class. So far, the narrative that we've been presented with was a young, wealthy, racially diverse, but possibly heterosexual couple where, again, the female-bodied character appears not only as stably female, but also as feminine. The gender queerness is the queerness of the male character. However, this queerness is inscribed in what looks like a heterosexual relationship. Now, in the first part, the only appearance of a white body is a white body that serves the people of color. The one small gesture of whiteness was the application of the paler makeup. Otherwise, the narrative exclusively centered on two people of color and queerness as gender queerness, even if it's made possible in the context of wealth. But it turns out that our two people of color cannot simply enjoy themselves and each other, right? Here they come in, enjoying, wow, great, we're in the super suite. What the fuck? Because if the two of them just enjoy each other, where would that leave white men? Our bellhop has returned as a petty thief, but he's a glammed up intruder who signals his cisgender maleness by sporting a clearly visible beard. And it's hard to notice, but even though he's now wearing a golden suit, having literally become the golden boy, while most people of color actually wear mostly dark black clothing.
He was a fucking bellhop.
He's a comedian. The bellhop is a comedian. I can't remember the comedian's name. And he makes fucking jokes about shit. And it's actually part of his shtick. It totally makes sense to have that dude in the fucking ad.
Okay.
This guy is so out of context. He's so goddamn stupid. He doesn't understand that there's this whole layer of social media and television involved in it. Oh my God, go bury your face in another poorly written book, you fucking thick frame glasses motherfucker.
The bellhop is also still wearing his name tag. So he both still is and is not the working class boy. But as a golden boy, he now enters into the constellation on equal footing with the rich people of color.
No, he's just going to make himself pretty,
of the commercial is, of course, the
Right. He's saying, well, all right, he's in a position as a servant to the non-stereotypical, non-white people that are genderqueer, right? He is subservient to them, but he can't have that because of systemic racism and the fact that whiteness permeates every fabric of the United States of America. That it just the ad cannot help itself. It has
in
to.
In a lot of ways, this guy's already bored me because like a lot of my predictions have came true.
Right.
The only one that didn't is like he didn't admit that it was a religion yet, but I'm sure that's coming.
The stability of the mascara, as the bellhop indicates with his the shrugging of his shoulders and his helpless, endearingly innocent facial gesture. In German, we actually call that Dachshund face. Right? He's like, who couldn't?
Just say Dachshund?
The bellhop tells us that the mascara,
Dachshund,
getting bossed up, is simply so irresistible that he could not but magnetically be attracted to it. The interrelations between race, class, gender, and sex are indeed queer here. All the characters, regardless of gender, tell us about the desire of getting bossed up, indicating that capitalism both feminizes all of us, in the sense that feminization still implies subordination, but in its neoliberal instantiation, A, it has made girls also of the white cisgender men, and B, it enlists all of us into a world where moving to be the boss is perpetually promised as performance.
Like,
I missed something.
This guy's baffling people with bullshit, but he made a statement, capitalism feminizes everybody. What is he trying to say? Like, I almost think that was sexist. Like, he's agreeing with the MGTOWs about how feminists are like the 70% of consumers.
Well, all right, so remember, TERFs are like highly problematic with the whole trans thing. All right, and as a matter of fact, they align more like with the way I think about the shit, which I love. The fact that all the most militant TERFs on the planet, it's like we connect on this one thing, man, and they're not willing to budge from it.
Yeah, the TERFs kind of have a libertarian perspective on it, where all they wanted to say is like, look, if a woman can be a fucking rocket scientist and she has the chops to be a fucking rocket scientist, she should be able to be a rocket scientist. Right. But at the same time, they're like, no, like, we understand that, like, the maximum peak athleticism of women is not the same as men. So, like, having a man just say, oh, I'm a woman, that goes against what they're trying to do.
Even if he cuts his dick off, he was born with the dick. Right. It's all about what you were born with, right, with them. Make it as simple as possible. And so if you were born without a penis, you're pretty much a female. And even if you desire to be a male, that's problematic because you want a penis. No true woman would want a penis. Right? No true Scotsman.
Well, yeah. Well, no, there's what's her fucking name? She said the only way for a man to have sex that isn't rape is to not be hard.
Right.
So
God, what's her name? That is, yeah, I remember that shit. When that was like controversial back in the day, wasn't it? Jesus, we've come up quite a bit in the last 3 years. Holy smoke.
Attainable, namely by getting bossed up. At the same time, the commercial also does still inscribe a hegemonic, skinny, young, white, cis maleness, but it does so in a complicated and in a way in a really insidious manner. It is hegemonic, skinny, young, white, cis maleness that is not at all immediately monetizable for the bellhop. He remains the bellhop. He still has his name tag on. But this whiteness and white gaze is elicited from and reinforced in the audience because it is what allows the shrugging of the bellhop's shoulders to transform a petty theft into an endearing, innocent desire that is actually even edgy because it is somehow also transgressive against, in the way that it transgresses against the traditional straight, white, cis maleness. I mean, so what works as endearing here, I wonder, I might have, so yeah. What works as endearing here is mediated through class, gender, race, and race, which I believe becomes quite legible when we try to picture the person taking the cosmetics as, say, a Latina housekeeper in gray, drab hotel wear. then suddenly that reads quite differently. So even though the bellhop is and remains the servant to the couple of color, his intrusion and the endearing transgressiveness reinscribes for the audience that indeed the world is for his being taken, and even though nobody can presume anymore to inhabit that position by default.
Yeah, it is self-flagellation, which is a Catholic concept. So there you go.
But there's more. Under the gaze of the bellhop, right, which is the final shot. So the bellhop is looking at the people of color. So the camera takes up that shot. The two people of color now both become focused on the white man in the room, and not just focused on him in the kind of, why are you in my hotel room? But like, ooh, please desire me, I want you. So, right?
What?
Is not as if the two bodies of color now become presented as bodies that are there for the white cis man's taking. The class difference is smudged, but it seems that the Black and Latinx individuals seem to actively actually desire our cute, glammed up bellhop. They're not without agency at this point.
All right, so what makes me think that maybe he was sitting in his doctor's office too long one day and just thumbing through a magazine, and this seems so like random, the connections that he's trying to make.
Yeah, it seems like he fucking smoked a bunch of weed.
I don't even know if you can blame the herb on this shit, man.
Well, no, it's like he smoked a bunch of weed and then he went and talked to a schizophrenic and forgot they were schizophrenic.
Yeah, like, the only thing I got right about what this guy was going to say is, like, I thought he was going to baffle people with bullshit, and he's trying to, but it's so bad. Like, he's not even doing a good job of it. Like,
right.
everyone in the chat is just scratching their head, like, I don't even know what that dude just tried to say, man.
What intonation is going on
They
here?
do the desiring, and the site of power is actually the mascara, as we might expect, since it's trying to move that product.
Holy
but what has
crap,
also happened is that what was
weirdo.
gender queerness intruding on and challenging heterosexuality in the initial couple has been relocated in the context of queer sexual desire. Moreover, even if the visual narrative here does not simply present us with a version of the world where wealthy, white maleness confidently knows that it has the right to access and appropriate everything it sees, the mythification underlying that norm of whiteness gets reinscribed, if not deepened. So the white male cis body is not the only body, is actually the only body that remains in the end without makeup. The two people of color both actually had to get bossed up. He's holding up the mascara. So he's the one who's not bossed up. He's the body that vis-a-vis capitalism remains feminized, and we, the audience here, are initiated into a world where epidermal whiteness and presumed biological maleness no longer necessarily corresponds with class privilege. However, as we got to witness in the swift shift of the facial expressions of our Black and Latinx couple, a white cis male body still emanates irresistible attraction.
Do you really want to hurt me?
Yeah, Boy George said, I like dressing in drag, but I'm totally a straight man. It was super effective.
I'll tumble for you. I'll tumble for you.
So whiteness and cis maleness remain as eminently desirable. As we have been educated in fluidity by the smooth moving from gender queerness to sexual queerness, we are initiated into a world where wanting to have and wanting to be, to use the Freudian distinction, converges in a wanting to do, which, thanks to the powers of performativity, is now both to desire and to identify with. The final scene is... Sorry. I'm flipping back and forth too much, but I hope this is the right one. We'll see. The final scene here is ambiguous. It's not the white cis male simply asserting that everything and everyone in the world exists for his pleasure, right? He's like, very cute. The desire of the two people of color seems to be what authorizes the bellhop. And yet the triangularity among the three characters is really limited. The Latinx genderqueer male character in the final shot,
Because
just
it's
like the black woman,
3-second
seem rather
shot.
focused only on the white man. So
Are
moreover,
you fucking serious?
since as we observed, the bellhop doesn't need to wear makeup. So in the context that we're given, he also cannot wear makeup because applying makeup is to get bossed up. So what's cited here implicitly, exactly by having the bellhop be the liminal figure, is that the white cis maleness still is the boss. Although the bellhop, because of his class position, is not currently inhabiting this position. Only already feminized positions can get bossed up. So the bellhop, as a cuter and slightly queerer version of white cis maleness, still or precisely in that very way, effectively shores up the limits of how far transgressive fluidity of desires and identifications can reach. So overall, my argument here is that the dynamic that we're witnessing here helps us read how underneath all the fluidity is a set of norms that's reiterated, rendered edgy, actually, and inscribed all over again. And these are the norms. So wealth makes sexy, free, and fluid.
Apparently, shouting at clouds whiteness is witchcraft.
I can also like sum what his argument this entire time was.
Well,
right from start to finish. No, it's not even that.
This is Marxism.
All he tried to say is from the start. He said, "My hypothesis is, like gender, people's sexuality, it's completely fluid, and my conclusion is." Just that, and everything in between was just me talking bullshit to prove my hypothesis. That's all he did. Like, there was nothing else to it. It's intellectual sophistry. He said a lot of big words. He confused a lot of people. Most of the people that watch our show are smart enough to realize it was all bullshit. But once again, I go back to, I can see how somebody that can be baffled by bullshit will just listen to this and be like, oh, I never thought of it that way.
Bingo, Fat Andy.
They just kind of took their mind into some weird place with all these big words.
All right. So, the A, B, C, D, E's of this is A is wealth makes sexy, free, and fluid. Wealth makes sexy, free, and fluid.
And that's wrong right off the bat.
Wealth makes sexy, free, and fluid. That sounds like some kind of fucking passphrase you'd give to pass a spy note or some shit. I don't know. It sounds like it sounds completely like nothing. All right. Female bodies can access power only through more, not less femininity.
Yes.
Whiteness is eminently desirable to be performed.
Yes.
All right. Despite class difference, queering whiteness allows upward mobility.
No.
And finally, the conclusion: queerness for white cis maleness equals subordination. Equality to the WOC, queer POC.
Women of color, queer people of color.
Right.
Okay. So first of all, the first one, wealth makes sexy, free, and fluid. He wanted to keep it short so he could put it all into one thing. Instead of just making the letters a little smaller, he couldn't get there. What he's trying to say is wealth makes one look sexy, free, and fluid. He's saying that wealth is what gives you the freedom to do those things.
Right.
But I don't know how true that is living up here in Portland.
This is Marxist
because
shit.
We got some goddamn crazy ass gender fluid homeless motherfuckers up here. So I don't understand what the fuck they're talking about. And these motherfuckers are free to go shit wherever they want, especially if they're in Portland. They've even stopped fucking cleaning that stuff up. And you want to be fluid? People clap for that shit out here. It has fuck all to do with wealth. This is a lie altogether. The one that gets me the most, though, there's 2 sentences on here that are actually accurate and correct. Female bodies, which is stupid. Women can access power only through more, not less femininity. Okay, this is true. Do you know why? Femininity is the currency women use to procreate.
It's about reproduction.
I was going to say procreation is the vessel with which women maintain power within their own households.
And
oh
that's
my God, biological realities. Why are you doing that? You're so sexist.
No, it's hardwired into our brain stems, dude. It's lizard shit.
It's genetic.
Yes.
Like it's literally part of who we are as women. It is It just is. I don't know how else to describe it except for the biblical I am. So
all right. So Timma is like a very effeminate female lady who does masculine things like change the oil or maybe even the transmission fluid. Right. I am artsy fartsy to a degree, and and I counsel people. And I have to shave my shoulders. Okay. So it's like, I don't understand what this, we were talking earlier about the anima and the animus, right? With the Jungian stuff. It's just, how about, they have to have this construct to fit, to reinforce and buttress the rest of the CRT nonsense that's trying to get pushed through.
But this is an outright lie, because the type of femininity they're talking about isn't a femininity that we've had in society since the 1800s. They keep referencing shit like Victorian femininity, where there was this weird idea, and it's all urban. Right. All of this shit is all urban stereotypes, because you step outside of a larger city and you go meet a woman, even back at the time that they're referencing, when these were hard and fast rules that they're pretending they were. There were women who wore pants, they rode fucking horses, they ran farms, and they did all the same thing as men, and they looked like women in pants, and it was no big deal because they had to do the same fucking work as a man. And it had nothing. They just had to still act like a woman. They could go do a man's job, but you had to just be the woman you are.
Right.
And even back then, that was the dichotomy. And it's like socially. So it's like they're doing nothing but taking in pop culture and acting like that's reality. And it's very frustrating, because femininity itself isn't like simpering and manipulative, which is something you hear a lot of men describe women as. Yes, our communication is subversive because we're vocal, but we're also physically communicative on a greater level because we never had to hunt. We're the ones that have to grab shit and look around and shout orders and everything's with littles. So it is a biological dichotomy. Unfortunately, we have a society who abuses that system of subversive communication versus, what's the word? Overt communication. So but that's kind of the core of femininity, is the whole nurturing part, but there's also the whole get shit done part. So it's a very bad, the next one really, I want to laugh my ass off, because whiteness is eminently desirable and to be performed. I don't know if you guys know this, but in Japan to this day, women try to stay as fair as possible because it's considered more attractive in their culture. Same thing in China. Parts of Korea, it's the same way. Hell, I even think there's parts of India where they try to get their skin lighter. I know there's some Middle Eastern places where that's been popular. Syria comes to mind. I don't see how this is wrong. Hell, there's even countries in Southern Africa where people try to look whiter. So, whiteness, as they described it, absolutely. Who wouldn't want it? You get a civilized society out of it.
Exactly. Like, it's fucked up how backwards they are in their thinking, right? They define whiteness as something that just works for societies.
Just works, man.
But they want to disrupt and dismantle it. That's why, like, you actually get the whole Uncle Tom theory, right? Or like Asians that are white adjacent, right? Any group that is operating well in white societies, they're against.
Right. Because it defeats their narrative. No, man. Yeah, right. It defeats their narrative.
Well, it defeats their narrative, and it's also like for people like me and you that understand what racism actually is, it's super fucking racist.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, it's really, really reductive and racist at the same time, because what they're calling whiteness is just classic human, traditional, civilized values. You can find what they're calling whiteness in fundamentalist Islamic countries.
Yep.
Okay, so it's a bit of a cognitive dissonance, which is probably why he sounds like a total and complete idiot.
Indeed. All right, let's move.
it. A female body can access power only through more, not less femininity. If you think of the black woman, right? She had to get more feminine. See, whiteness is eminently desirable. Even if there's a class difference, queering whiteness allows upward mobility, right? White straight boy getting a little queer means he can be on par with the rich, wealthy people of color. It allows him to enter into that threesome, being the golden boy, keeping the American dream not only alive, but also white. And finally, feminization and queerness for the white cis man is already covered by becoming an object of desire, by submitting to being bossed around by a black woman and Latinx trans feminine guy. But equality is already a form of submission. Okay, so neoliberalism's queer rituals. So in the remaining few minutes, I want to return to thinking about ritualization and transgression. So as I tried to show in this presentation, ritualized forms of transgression shape collective aesthetic practices that entangle forms of embodiment with the creation and maintenance of authority structures by establishing what we might call zones of exception and acceptability. These zones of exception are not necessarily noticeable as exceptions, nor are the transgressions particularly dramatic. So this understated nature is actually...
What?
What?
Yeah, I like money, so I think I'm going to become an IRL satire account. I'm just going to be like this guy. I'm going to get in front of people and get lots of money for giving speeches and putting shit up on YouTube. And I'm going to say the same crap they do. Not because I believe it, because I'm pretty sure I can make a lot of money.
You make a lot of money doing it, dude.
This makes no sense.
It's either this or become a cult leader.
This makes... Well, okay, with his education, I think he's trying.
Yeah, this one's government sanctioned, so I don't have to worry about the cult leader.
It's church. It's Catholic church sanctioned, dude.
Yeah, according to this guy.
Oh, so that's who he works for. The fucking Catholic Church.
Part of the cultural functioning. Now, the religious, very clear example of a zone of exception that's ritually established would be Catholic Mass. During the Mass, it is perfectly acceptable and, in fact, very much expected that the blood and body of Christ are ingested. Now, in general, you can't do that with Uncle Jesus. Okay? So the ritual establishes a zone of exception. And particularly fluidity, creativity, transgression, uniqueness, reinvention are not just values, but have become veritable assets under neoliberalism. And yet taboos and sanctions for transgressing in the wrong way, for being creative in the wrong way, for inventing yourself in the wrong way, remain, but actually constantly emerge in new ways. In the case of genderqueer embodiment, the rituals of capitalism make transgressive gender presentations look like an affirmation, but the transgressions against the gender binary are condoned only if they follow the specifically ritualized versions that render special and sacralized the rarefied transgressive body. In everyday life, transgressions remain forbidden or policed even more stringently. As we've seen, the permissible genderqueer transgressions are not only inscribed in a very strict class aesthetic, but they're also intensely raised. And the university, as the context in which most of us move so very much, is no exception here. The provocative intervention that is an asset of edginess and a way into notoriety for the slim, white, cisgender, tenured professor can very well be the end of it for a fat, black, transgender student. Depending on our social positioning, lacking style or claiming the wrong style in our daily performance can become an offense to varying degrees against capitalism, against whiteness, against the male prime of place. Only if one is already rich, white, straight, cisgender, and a man does one get to lack style without repercussion. And I think the Philadelphia Starbucks incident just showed that, right? You can sit there with a black body. That is a transgression in a commercialized
space. It's a person,
right?
you motherfucker.
So for everyone else, lacking style, who's not rich, white, straight, cisgender, male.
This is a
lacking style means to break a taboo, to transgress outside the proper
motherfucker.
confines of the rituals of capitalism, and only from a position of relative privilege can infractions against capitalism's religion of style appear as infractions of minor consequence.
Capitalism's religion of style.
It isn't a religion. It's a series of actions.
Capitalism's religion of style. See, that's how. All right, no, they
Capitalism is physics.
I already paused the entire stream to talk about what capitalism is and what capitalism isn't. And he's ascribing to capitalism a whole bunch of shit that is nothing to do with
attributes,
capitalism.
right. Dude.
The zones of unacceptability that capitalism's...
Well, see, what he's doing is, all right, so he's putting it in a light that's going to make, you know, when he's going to contrast it with some Marxist bullshit, right? He's got to vilify capitalism, and so within these parameters, you know, he's like in a narrow like little deal here. So he's kind of putting.
But it doesn't fucking matter because he has no actual response to capitalism. He has no replacement to capitalism other than he's saying it's bad. When he's also misinterpreting like basically every theorist that was pro free markets, where they weren't sitting there just being like, free markets are the best thing ever. We're just saying
I would wager
we have never discovered a way of human exchange to make more products and increase human prosperity than capitalism, right?
Right.
Like
I got
that's the difference. Like no capitalist has ever said this is the only way to do things, and you could never possibly.
I got a feeling this dude's parents grew up in East Germany during the Cold War.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? It's just it feels ingrained, man. I don't know. I don't know how to describe what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing. It's not really. It's like I don't know. It's hard to articulate.
Rituals produced target not only individual bodies, but also render entire populations expendable, while at the same time promising the infinite flexibility.
Let's back that up.
Yeah. What?
Everyone else lacking style, who's not rich, white, straight, cisgendered male. Lacking style means to break a taboo, to transgress outside the proper confines of the rituals of capitalism, and only from a position of relative privilege can infractions against capitalism's religion of style.
And this guy said something that made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I paused it.
Okay. It was a very, very...
I think I know what's going on. I think it's the video interface. All right. Well, Bullwinkle donates $10 and says we are doomed to meet. We are doomed to meet in the totally secret mountain hideout. I already stashed the still and brewery. Indeed. You have any grow lights in there? Just a question. Because inquiring minds want to know.
I just heard Uzi cough up a bunch of shit. Uzi, man, I'm taking such big hits off the bong.
No, he doesn't smoke, man.
So can we all agree that this is misanthropy?
Yeah,
it's everything I said it was going to be, except for like a few mispredictions.
Well, it's right when he started like zeroing in on capitalism, right?
Well, intellectual sophistry, right?
Right.
So one of the things he's done, like if you were just sitting there, like imagine you're like a fucking 19-year-old college student that doesn't know shit. This guy's sitting there, he's throwing all these big fucking words at you. You've been baffled with bullshit, and all of a sudden, you're just like he is.
Well, no, you hate your fucking parents. You're 20 years old. You know, it's like, yeah, of course. Man, I was a socialist, raging liberal when I was that age.
I don't think I was ever a socialist. I mean, I've been like a social liberal my whole life. I've always been
all right, here's the deal.
And all that shit, but I never got into the socialism.
I distributed the Workers magazine like for 2 months.
Oh.
Yeah, because it was about a chick. It was about a chick.
Dude. I started making my own money at 9. I started making my own money at like the age of 9. And I was a capitalist ever since then. You just couldn't convince me otherwise.
Oh, and a certain president's daughter was also very interested in that magazine too. And I met her in Memphis, but I can't talk about that.
What?
Isn't she kind of retarded?
No, but she was made fun of. It's anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, what is actually like made me like not interchangeably a libertarian was Ron Paul 2008, because I was kind of the same way in college, where I was like I looked at socialism and I was like, this whole idea that everybody can live in the Star Wars economy, that's fucking fantastic. But it took like Ron Paul 2008. And what it really took is I was always also super fucking punk rock, and it's amazing how it goes hand in hand. But a lot of people are like, this guy's just fucking crazy. This guy's just fucking nuts. Well, it's just like, well, if CNN is telling me this guy's crazy, let's hear what he has to say. And I just kept hearing it.
All right.
And every speech he gave, I was like, yes, I love you. You're completely fucking
Check
correct
this out.
on goddamn fucking
Excel.
everything.
All right, you know Sofane? His hero is Jello Biafra. His political influence is Jello Biafra of the dead Kennedys.
I get it from the time, but
The socialist who tried to become the mayor of San Francisco, Jello Biafra?
That Jello Biafra, yeah.
Okay.
It explains a lot, doesn't it?
It's already like there's always been that bend in like the punk rock scene.
Yeah.
When I looked at it, I was like, I'm being fucking lied to. This is all fucking bullshit. Like, people being free is better. And like, I want to be real honest. Like, I got a tattoo like during the same time because I was in a band. Like, this tattoo was free, so I'll take a picture and show it to you guys. But I have a Liberty Bell with wings, and it's supposed to mean freedom without bounds. I got that tattoo in 2008, and I was like, you know what? Fuck this, man. Like, I know what liberty means now. And I just feel like all these fucking, like, champagne socialists, they don't get it. They just don't fucking get it.
They don't fucking get it. You're right. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to make it to the end of this thing. Let's try to watch a little bit more. And when do y'all want to wrap?
Like soon, because I gotta cook dinner.
Tim needs to rap, so I say we just rap now instead of playing more.
Okay.
I don't think there's much else this guy's going to say that's going to contribute to the conversation. If there's a particular instance that you know of, like, we'll clip it and we can talk about it next stream.
Right. Yeah.
And by the way, Johnny Walker Tread, I don't know if you've ever heard of his channel, but he does nothing but self-defense. He particularly focuses on the Kyle Rittenhouse situation.
Yeah, you were telling me about him the other night, weren't you?
Yeah, I just linked to his channel. I messaged him a little bit earlier, and he said he is down to show up next Saturday at 8 p.m., and we'll do a gentle conversation where we just kind of talk about the state of self-defense in America.
That's an interesting
right? Like, 'cause it's kind of big, right? Like,
right.
I say it's tangential, but it's certainly related to CRT or critical theory in general, right? The idea that citizens would show up armed and say, "Yo, we don't want you burning down our buildings, and we have arms on us," and then the idea that you're gonna blame the fucking people that showed up, saying, "Yo, we don't want you burning down our fucking buildings." Because they got attacked and had to shoot somebody. Right? Like, it's a weird fucking situation. Like, I feel it's very similar to this whole CRT discussion because historically in America, that's not a liberal versus anti-liberal conversation.
No, property
right? Like,
rights has always been a big thing in this country.
Yeah, like, a lot of people would have agreed. It was like, yo, you go fucking run at somebody that's just like, I have a gun because I don't want you to burn this building down. And you get shot because you attacked the dude. Like, even liberals used to agree with that 20 years ago. Maybe more, 30. At least 30 years ago, I knew they agreed.
Yeah.
But, like, no, I think it's a big deal. Like, I like it. And Johnny Walker Dread, I think you're going to like this dude a lot, so I'm going to make sure to get him on next week.
All right, killer. All right, that'll be excellent. It'll be a good change of pace, and it kind of fits, in the milieu. It fits with kind of what we're looking at,
Well, and I posted the link in the chat, and I also posted the link to in our little private chat, but, like, he's got really good content. I think he's grossly undersubbed, I'm going to be real honest.
I feel you. All right, I'll check him out for sure. So, and I'll have some questions. I'll put down some questions and stuff. And we'll make a show out of it.
Just add him at Twitter. He'll respond. He responded to me very quickly, actually, when I asked him about coming to the show. So
cool.
But that's next week.
Sweet. Next Saturday, right here.
Sweet.
All right. So, for Tema, what you got coming up?
Well, all I have right now is these couple of things. I'm looking at possible surgery. I go to a surgeon on the 14th, so that'll tell me what I'm dealing with. At least I'll have a direction to go. Maybe, hopefully, I don't know.
For your hip?
We'll see. 2 years. It's been a while.
For your hip?
Yeah, for my hip, which actually may actually be a hernia, not just my hip.
Oh, dude.
So, woo!
Woo! Damn.
Woo!
God. All right. What about you, Excel? What you got coming up?
I'm gonna go smoke some meth and shoot some dope. I'll talk to you guys later.
Is that right?
Right? I feel that, dude.
All right. So tomorrow, Dr. Kiev, who is in the also known as Kieverdam or Kieverdam, is in the chat. I'm going to be talking with her tomorrow afternoon, 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central, and that's 2 o'clock Pacific. That's right. And we're going to be hanging out, and it should be fantastic. She's got a beautiful singing voice, and I've caught her a couple of times. And so she's. I'm excited to meet her and to talk to her. Monday on Twitch, because Susan's a bitch, right? It'll be extra credit with from the Gulag with Becca Fairley, and we're going to be looking at spies, the spies and the spy game and big spies of the Cold War. And on that note, I'm ready to rock and roll. How about y'all?
Yes, sir. I gotta go cut chicken and grill it.
All right, let's say bye-bye.
Later, fam.
Ah.
Thanks for coming, everybody. See you tomorrow.